Welcome back, everybody. Over the past few weeks, I've been getting a lot of requests to draw a car. And to be honest, I've been avoiding it for a very simple reason, and that is because drawing cars is really hard. And I think that's because it's very different than drawing other products in that they have a very firm mental image of what they should look like in our mind. In fact, I think the only thing harder to draw than a car is a human. So let's set up a simple perspective for ourselves. I know you've probably all seen this trick a million times where somebody draws a box and then all of a sudden magically it becomes a car or an owl or whatever. But in this case, drawing the box in perspective really does help. Helps you to get the center lines of the ellipse for the wheels right. And once you have that box in there and those ellipse center lines, once I do that, I put in this shoulder line over on top of the wheels, which is a line that typically defines kind of the top of the car from the bottom of the car. And then I'll whip that around the front and start to define the opposite side fender. From here, I'm starting to build out the front graphic, starting with the center with this kind of central peak of a grille. And what I'm showing is this kind of grille becomes this light bar that hits the sides of those fender peaks. Down here towards the bottom, perhaps there's some airlet openings for a lower grille with just a kind of a chin spoiler down here at the base that wraps under. And then as the fender evolves into the wheel, perhaps there's this little light catcher here that gives a little surface development around the tires. Now that I have the lower body all squared away, I'll start to think about what's going on in the greenhouse. So notice with that A-pillar, I pulled the line straight up off the center of that ellipse. The C-pillar goes back towards the center of the rear wheel, and I have a nice start of a greenhouse. To pull that roof off, I'll literally just pull a line off the back of the C-pillar and then get the opposite side A-pillar in there. Notice how the opposite side A-pillar is a little bit more tapered, and that's because the greenhouse is tapered, right? It's not, the sides aren't parallel to one another. From here, I'll fix up my center line, and I'll start to come back in with some darker lines because now I have basically the whole design kind of sketched in roughly without any detail. But I'll start to fire in some darker lines and start to draw through it as well. So here, let's get that opposite side B pillar, C pillar, the back window opening, start to hint where the seats would be, and a steering wheel. I'm gonna hatch this down because I'm gonna have the light coming from the right of the sketch. So I'm just gonna quickly kind of hatch in this front windshield and start defining in some of those interior features just to give it a little bit of a sense of depth as I start to lay in some details into the sketch. Next, I'll start to darken that down even further, just to start to give some dimension to the window there. And I'll come back into the wheels. If you guys remember, a couple of weeks ago I did a nice 5-spoke wheel tutorial. Go back and watch that one to make sure you're firing your 5 spokes into your sketches properly. Now I'll start to add some detail into the sketch. So in that lower grille, perhaps there's these fins that reach upwards towards that light bar and give a little bit of a sense of detail. Let's add a couple more of those little airfoil fins in there that almost mirror that grill coming down. And so you see I'm starting to be a little bit more heavy with the lines. Let's come back into that light bar, really define it as it comes into form kind of a nose and kind of hint at a V grill. And let's throw a little Nissan logo in there. Maybe it's a new Maxima. Starting to define that V line that comes up off of the grill and rolls into the hood. And let's just darken down this ground plane line here just to ground the sketch a little bit and give a little bit of a hint of the passenger side tire. Again, coming in, darkening line work. You know, it's amazing how much line weight you can get out of a Sharpie just through pressure. And let's start to just do some light shading on this. And so on all the upward facing surfaces, I'm using this rather dry cloud blue marker. I like this marker to be rather dry so I can get it to just really fade in and out and just give you a little bit of a sense of sky tone. And then I'm going to come in with a 60% and 30% cool gray marker to start defining the body side. So it's kind of, as that body kind of rolls under, getting some 30% gray on there, defining the passenger side of that peak of the nose, and then just hitting the top of that with some 60% to really make it look metallic and give it some contrast. Coming back in here on some of those fins and starting to define some of that. Let's darken down the whole windshield as well, just to kind of push it back a little bit in space and get the wheels kind of dishing in a little bit. Coming in with some sky blue on those wheels, and then back with my Sharpie just to come back in and define some things. Maybe it's just give a little bit more of a detail to that light bar. Maybe it just kind of cuts in with a nice little jog there. Notice how I'm kind of touching up my center line as I go. And one thing you always notice when I'm doing these is I'm working the whole sketch, right? Coming back through everything all at once. My favorite new pen, these white opaque pens, I freaking love these things. Really nice to just come back in and add some detail back in, take back out of the Sharpie and in the marker just to get some opaque highlights. And let's get a really nice bold highlight on the windshield here, just some harsh light hitting it there. And to indicate maybe there's some LED fog lights going on in that one opening, just to give it a little pop. Again, now working back into that with the Sharpie, toning up some of those reflection lines. And let's hit the shoulder one more time just to really make it have this kind of strong pop to it. Defining that chin spoiler. Just keeping it light, right? Just giving a little bit of character lines in here just to make it pop. And maybe there's a little bit of a reflection on this side glass here that hints at the horizon in the distance. A little bit more weight and width to our tires. And that's it, guys. A nice, light, quick car sketch. Now, the key with these is to keep them really light feeling and to not overdo them. Give it a shot. It's a hard thing to draw. You can draw a car, you can draw almost anything. So keep sketching, everybody.